I never thought I'd be the guy posting something like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 8 years now. We met in college, got married young, and for the most part, I thought we had a good thing going. Or at least I did. I mean, sure, we had our disagreements like everyone does, but nothing that seemed like a big deal. We had plans, a nice house, a dog, the usual suburban life. But lately, I'd started noticing small things that didn't sit right. Lisa's been acting kinda weird, more distant, more secretive. She used to be open about everything, but now she's hiding her phone more, making excuses to go out late, or just disappearing for hours without telling me where she's going. She's been bitchy, snapping at me over little stuff. I thought maybe it was stress from work or the pandemic finally catching up to her, but I honestly had a gut feeling something was off. And then, there was the odd behavior during what I thought was an ordinary day. I work from home, so I was in my office when I noticed Lisa was being way more secretive than usual. She kept her phone closed, kept deleting messages, and I caught her sneaking her phone into the bathroom. I didn't want to snoop, but I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something. So I started paying more attention. I didn't go through her stuff, at least not yet, but I'd catch her looking at her phone in a weird way, like she was trying to hide something. One day I was in the living room and I saw her texting someone. Her phone lit up and I saw the message preview. It was a string of flirty, suggestive texts, not just friendly flirting like full-on sexting. I froze, my stomach dropped. I never thought Lisa would do something like that, especially not with someone she was supposed to trust. I felt a kind of numb disbelief settle in. I mean, I knew women could be sneaky, but I never expected my wife to cheat on me, especially not with someone so specific. I confronted her that night. I just blurted it out, showing her the message on my phone. Her face changed instantly, defensive, angry, dismissive. She spat out some bullshit about how it was nothing. Just a flirt, a mistake she was sorry for. She said she loved me, that I was overreacting, and that it didn't mean anything. She called me paranoid, said I was imagining things, that I was insecure. But I knew better. I knew what I saw. That wasn't just a joke or playful banter. That was something real, something serious. And that's when things started to get really complicated. Because I work in a field that's kind of unique. I've got a brain injury from a car accident about 2 years ago, and I've been undergoing experimental neural rehabilitation, cutting-edge stuff, really. It's called cognitive regeneration, and it's supposed to restore damaged pathways in my brain. It's invasive, yes, but it's been helping a lot. I've been making progress, feeling sharper, more focused. But I also know I'm vulnerable. I trust my doctors, I trust Lisa, and I trusted that my brain was safe during all this. Turns out I was wrong. I started noticing strange things about my treatments, little inconsistencies. Like a few times, I'd noticed that the protocols I was following didn't quite match what I remembered from the last session. Weird, minor things, but enough to make me wonder. I asked Lisa about it and she brushed me off, saying it was just my paranoia. But then I found out she was visiting the same doctor, the surgeon who's been leading my neural protocols. I saw her leaving his office one day hurriedly with a weird look on her face. That's when I really started connecting the dots. What made me suspicious wasn't just the affair. It was the timing. Her visits coincided with my treatments. While I was in sessions, she was with him. I couldn't believe it. The man who's supposed to help me heal turned out to be the guy she was cheating on me with. I felt sick. It was like my mind was playing cruel tricks, but I knew I had to find out the truth. I started digging through her phone, her emails, everything I could find. I wasn't much for spying, but I couldn't go on pretending that I didn't notice what was happening right under my nose. That's when I found the messages, more than just flirtation, detailed plans, photos, explicit stuff, everything laid out like a taunt. She was having sex with him, possibly during my sessions. I couldn't believe it. I sat there, stunned, feeling like I'd been hit by a freight train. The trust I had in her in my entire life was shattered. That's when I knew I had to do something. I couldn't just let this slide. I had to figure out what to do next, how to confront her, how to process what I'd uncovered. And honestly, I was furious. I felt betrayed on every level, not just as her husband, but as a guy who's been vulnerable and fighting to recover himself physically and mentally. Do you want me to keep going? I spent the next couple of days in a fog. I couldn't eat properly, couldn't sleep. Everything I'd built with her, our marriage, the trust, the plan for the future, felt like it was crumbling right in front of me. I kept replaying the images I'd seen, the messages, the hidden visits. I kept asking myself how she could do this, how she could betray me while I was vulnerable, while I was trying to get better. It felt like a punch to the gut every time I thought about her lying in bed next to me, secretly sneaking off to meet him. I knew I had to confront her, but I wasn't sure how. I didn't want to lose my temper or say something I'd regret, but I also couldn't just ignore it. One night I decided I had enough games. I sat her down and told her I knew everything, about the texts, the visits, the sex. Her face froze, and for a second she looked genuinely surprised, but then the mask dropped back into that bitchy, dismissive attitude she always wore when she was trying to lie her way out of something. She spun some bullshit about how it was a mistake, that she was under stress, that it didn't mean anything. She claimed I was paranoid, that I was accusing her of something that wasn't real. She said she loved me and that she'd never cheat on me, not really, just some stupid flirt that got out of hand. Honestly, her reaction was so typical. She lies, denies, and then plays the victim. I could see right through her, though. I wasn't born yesterday. I knew her pattern, the way she always spins lies when she's caught. But it wasn't just about her lying. It was about how I felt. The betrayal cut so deep. I felt angry, hurt, and utterly stupid for trusting her all these years. How could I have been so blind? I thought I knew her. I thought I knew everything about her. But now I saw that she was capable of hiding a whole other life from me, one that involved an affair with my doctor, my brain surgeon, no less. The guy working on my neural pathways, the one supposedly trying to help me, was also the guy she was sleeping with. That just seemed like some sick, twisted joke. I wanted to believe her, want to believe there was some explanation that could make sense. Maybe it was some kind of mistake, or some weird game she was playing to get back at me. But deep down, I knew better. She was lying through her teeth, trying to make me doubt myself. And I was so furious that I couldn't even look at her the same way anymore. I saw her for what she really was, a manipulative, bitchy woman who'd been sneaking around behind my back while I was trying to fix my brain. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what I'd do next. I knew I had to have some kind of plan. I wasn't going to let her get away with this, not without consequences. I started to think about how I could use what I'd found out against her, how I could make her feel the same pain I was feeling. I didn't want to just walk away and pretend it didn't happen. I wanted her to understand what she'd done, how much she'd hurt me. The next morning I got up early, made sure I had all my evidence in order, screenshots, saved messages, everything I'd need. I didn't want to give her a chance to deny or spin her lies again. I decided I'd confront her with everything, in a way she couldn't deny. I wanted her to see that I knew, that I was serious, and that I wasn't going to be played anymore. I thought about showing her the evidence in front of her, maybe even calling the doctor, telling him I knew about their little affair. But I also knew that might escalate things in ways I wasn't ready for. Instead, I waited for her to come home that evening. I had a plan in mind, something that would hit her where it hurt, something that would make her regret ever crossing me. I wanted her to see that I was serious about what I'd uncovered. I was done being the nice guy who turns the other cheek. I wanted her to understand that she'd crossed a line she could never come back from. I knew it would be messy, and I was prepared for whatever fallout might come. She walked through the door, acting like everything was normal, like she hadn't just betrayed me in the worst way possible. I looked at her and decided it was time. I pulled out my phone and started playing the evidence I'd gathered, letting her see every message, every covert visit, every lie she tried to spin. Her face changed again, panic, anger, that bitchy glint in her eyes, but she couldn't deny it anymore. Not when I had the proof right there in front of her, and that's where I left it for now. I wanted her to see what she'd done, to feel the weight of her betrayal. I was hurt, yes, but I was also furious. I knew from this moment on, everything was about to change. That confrontation was a turning point. Watching her squirm under the weight of the evidence was oddly satisfying, but mostly it just made me feel hollow inside. I've always believed in honesty, in facing the truth, no matter how ugly it is. But seeing her desperately trying to lie her way out, twisting her words, making excuses about how it just happened, or how she didn't mean for it to get so out of control, it hit me that this wasn't just about cheating. It was about her total lack of respect for me, for our marriage, for everything we built together. She kept crying, trying to manipulate me with tears and cheap words. She said she was under so much stress, that she felt trapped, and that it wasn't supposed to be like this. She kept insisting it was just sex, that it didn't mean anything, that it was a mistake. Honestly, I don't know what I expected her to say, but that didn't sit well with me. I wasn't about to buy her pity act. I've been through enough with my brain injury to recognize bullshit when I see it. I stayed quiet for a long time, just staring at her, feeling all these conflicting emotions. Part of me wanted to scream, to break things, to hurt her back the way she hurt me, but I knew that wouldn't change anything. If anything, it'd make me just as bad as her. So I told her to leave, sent her to the guest room, told her I needed space. I told her I wasn't sure what to do next, but I needed to think it all through. That's when the real shock started sinking in. I couldn't shake this overwhelming sense of loss. Not just because she cheated on me, but because I realized I'd been so blind. I thought I knew her, trusted her, and now I saw how easily she'd betrayed that trust. It's like my entire sense of reality was crashing down around me. I kept asking myself, how did it get to this point? Did I miss the signs? Was I just too caught up in my recovery to see what was happening right under my nose? And then there was the part of me that felt angry, so angry I could barely think straight. How dare she do this to me? How dare she betray me when I was doing everything I could to rebuild myself? I felt like a fool, a complete idiot for ever trusting her again after everything I'd been through. I'd faced a lot these past 2 years, pain, surgeries, rehabilitation, and I thought I was stronger than this. But hearing her lie, watching her try to justify her betrayal, it broke something inside me. As the night went on, I started contemplating what my next move should be. I knew I couldn't just stay quiet forever. I needed a plan, something calculated. I wasn't naive enough to think I could just forgive or forget. That wasn't who I am. I decided I'd gather everything I needed, more evidence, maybe even talk to some of the doctors involved, find out exactly what was happening behind my back. I wasn't going to let her walk all over me, not this time. If she thought she could cheat and lie her way out of this, she was dead wrong. But I also knew I had to be careful. If I pushed too hard or made a scene, she'd only get more defensive and I might lose control. I needed to think about what I really wanted: justice, maybe, or just to make her feel as miserable as I was. I wasn't planning to just pack my bags and walk away empty-handed. No, I wanted her to understand the magnitude of her betrayal. The most painful part was knowing that my recovery, my progress, my effort to get better, had been compromised. She knew about the treatments, about how much they meant to me. And she used that knowledge to manipulate me, to get closer to the doctor, to feed her selfish needs. That made me feel even more betrayed. It wasn't just about infidelity. It was about her taking advantage of my vulnerability, my trust, everything I'd fought so hard for. I've always been the type to keep my emotions in check, but I'll admit, this hit me hard. I wanted to lash out, to scream, to do something destructive. But instead, I sat there in the dark, thinking about what I'd do next. I knew I couldn't stay with her, not after what I'd seen, what I'd learned. I felt a strange calm inside, a quiet resolve to take control of the situation. I would figure out how to handle this, how to make her regret what she did, and how to finally start healing from this betrayal on my terms. Do you want me to keep going? The next morning, I woke up with a clear mind, though my stomach still churned from the nights of restless sleep. I knew I had to act fast. The first step was to stop her from spinning any more lies or making excuses. I wasn't about to let her manipulate me again. I needed to be strategic, cold even, to make sure she understood that I had everything, every message, every secret rendezvous, laid out like a trap waiting to spring. I spent most of the day gathering more evidence. I went through her phone, downloaded all her texts, her emails, her social media messages. I even managed to access some of her cloud storage, stuff I really didn't want to do, but I had no choice. I wanted to see the full picture, to see how deep her betrayal went. While I was digging, I kept feeling a mixture of disgust and heartbreak. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I didn't see the truth behind her bitchy attitude, her mood swings, her little lies. By midday, I'd compiled a comprehensive folder, screenshots, chat logs, photos, even some audio recordings I'd managed to sneak from her phone when she wasn't paying attention. I knew I had leverage now, and I was ready to confront her again, this time with irrefutable proof. I didn't want her to deny it anymore, to twist her way out of it. I wanted her to face what she'd done. I waited until she returned that evening. She walked in, acting like everything was normal, like she hadn't been caught in a web of lies. I was already seated in the living room, my phone in hand, evidence ready. She looked surprised when she saw me, but that shit-eating smirk still played on her face. That was her defense, acting innocent, acting like she hadn't just shattered everything we had. I told her I had more proof, more than she could possibly deny. She tried to brush it off, to act like I was overreacting, but I cut her off. I played the recordings, the texts, the photos, slowly but surely revealing the whole sordid affair. Her face drained of color, her eyes darted around, trying to find a way out. But there was no escaping the truth now. She sat there, silent, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Her reaction was classic. She started to get defensive, saying it was just sex, that it was a mistake, that she loved me. But I wasn't buying it this time. I told her she had no right to tell me what was right or wrong anymore, that after everything I'd been through, my injury, my treatments, my trust, she'd still chosen to betray me. I told her I was done playing her game. I told her I was going to tell her doctor, the surgeon, exactly what I'd found, and I'd make sure he knew that his medical ethics had been violated. I told her I was going to file for divorce and cut her out of my life. She started crying, but not because she felt remorse. No, she just looked mad, mad that I was ruining her little secret. She tried to manipulate me again, saying I was overreacting, that I'd ruin her career, that I'd ruin everything. She spat out that I was jealous and paranoid, that I was just insecure, that I'd never really loved her. But I wasn't about to fall for her bullshit anymore. I was done playing her game. The thing is, I knew this was just the beginning. Her reaction validated everything I'd suspected. She's a liar, a manipulator, and she's dangerous. I didn't want her to see me as weak or broken. I wanted her to see that I was serious, that I was done trusting her, done pretending everything was okay. I told her to pack her things, that she wasn't welcome here anymore. Sometimes, in the quiet moments after, I'd think about what I'd do next. Part of me wanted revenge, something cold, calculated to make her hurt the way she'd hurt me. But another part of me just wanted to walk away, to start healing and rebuilding my life without her. I knew I had to be smart about this, not just for myself, but for the future I was still trying to fight for, despite everything. I also reached out to a couple of friends I trust, just to talk, to get some perspective. I needed to hear that I wasn't losing my mind, that this wasn't some overreaction. They told me to take care of myself, to focus on my recovery, and to not let her get the best of me. Honestly, that reassurance helped more than they know. It reminded me that I still had a fight left in me, even if I felt broken right now. Right now, I'm just trying to process everything. The shock, the anger, the heartbreak, all tangled up inside me. I never thought I'd be the guy ending his marriage over something like this, but I also know I can't stay with someone who would so callously betray me. It's going to take time to heal, and I don't know what the future holds. But one thing's clear. I'm done trusting her, and I'm done pretending everything's okay. Do you want me to keep going? The days following the confrontation were a blur of emotions. I threw myself into sorting out the practical stuff, packing her things, figuring out the logistics of her leaving, and trying to keep a clear head. Honestly, it was like trying to hold back a storm inside me while I did everything I could to stay composed. Every time I looked at her things, I felt this strange mixture of grief and rage. I kept thinking about all the moments we shared, how she had betrayed me so completely while I was working so hard just to regain some semblance of myself after the accident. She kept trying to come back, to talk, to offer apologies, mostly in tears, trying to play the victim again. She'd say things like, "It was just a moment of weakness," Or, I didn't mean for it to go this far, or even, I still love you and I want to fix this. But honestly, I'd heard enough. Her words didn't mean anything anymore. I saw the way she looked at her phone, the way she tried to hide her messages even as she begged me to forgive her. That's when I realized she had no intention of ending this affair. She was just trying to manipulate her way back into my good graces, to keep her options open. I knew I had to make a decision, whether to cut her loose completely or try to salvage something from this disaster. And truthfully, I was leaning toward cutting her out for good. I had no faith that she'd change, no matter how much she begged or cried. My trust was broken beyond repair. Every time she looked at me with those pleading eyes, I just felt numb. I didn't want her to think I was going to be weak and forgive her just because she was crying. One night I sat down and thought seriously about what I wanted. I realized I needed to protect myself, my mind, my heart, my sanity. I couldn't let her stay here, manipulating me, lying to my face while I was trying to rebuild my life. I decided I'd file for divorce. It was the only way I could regain control, the only way I could start to move forward. I also decided to contact the doctor, my surgeon, who I'd trusted with my brain, my progress. It felt like an extension of her betrayal, knowing she was sleeping with the very man who was supposed to help me get better. I wanted to make sure he knew what was happening, that his professional ethics had been compromised. I wasn't just trying to ruin her. I was trying to hold someone accountable, to make sure she didn't do this to anyone else. The process of ending things officially was brutal. I spent hours with a lawyer, going over the paperwork, making sure everything was airtight. I wanted her out of my life for good. I wanted her to feel what it was like to lose everything, her marriage, her reputation, her stability. I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel some satisfaction imagining her reaction when she realized I was serious. Meanwhile, I kept working on my recovery. It was the only thing that kept me sane. I threw myself into therapy, into the gym, into my treatments. I knew I needed to rebuild my strength, physically and mentally. Betrayal like this can shake you to your core, but I refused to let it break me for good. I had fought too hard to get this far, and I wasn't about to let her destroy everything I was working toward. I also started leaning on some friends. Not many. They don't need to know all the details, but enough to remind me I'm not alone. They told me I was brave, that I was doing the right thing, that I deserved better than someone who would cheat and lie and manipulate me during a time of obvious vulnerability. That help was there if I needed it. And even though I felt like a shell of myself, knowing I had that support helped me hold it together. I keep thinking about what I've learned from this nightmare. Trust is fragile and betrayal hurts more than I ever imagined. But I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought. I've faced so much already and I'm still standing. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know that I'm finally taking back control. I won't let her or anyone else hurt me like this again. Now, I'm just trying to focus on rebuilding my life piece by piece. I've got good days and bad days, but I remind myself that healing takes time. I have to remind myself that I'm worth more than someone who cheats, lies, and manipulates. I'm trying to look ahead, even if it's hard. I want to move past this pain, learn from it, and come out stronger for it. Because at the end of the day, I know I deserve that much. Would you like me to continue with the final part? Looking back now, I realize this whole ordeal has changed me more than I thought possible. I used to believe in fairness, honesty, and loyalty, things I thought defined who I was. But betrayal, especially by someone you love, forces you to confront the darker side of human nature. It's a painful lesson that trust isn't just given freely. It's earned, and once broken, it's almost impossible to fully repair. I've come to understand that sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is walk away from the chaos, cut out the toxicity, and focus on healing. I've learned that revenge, while tempting, isn't always the answer. Instead, taking control of your life, holding people accountable, and refusing to be a victim, those are the real victories. It's about reclaiming your power, even when everything inside you feels shattered. Now I'm rebuilding my life piece by piece. I still have bad days, moments when the weight of everything hits me again. But I remind myself that I am more than this betrayal. I am more than the pain she caused. I'm stronger than her lies, more resilient than her manipulations. I've got a future to fight for, one that doesn't include someone who would so callously betray the trust I gave her. And honestly, I want others out there to know, if you're going through something similar, don't blame yourself. Trust is fragile, and sometimes, despite your best efforts, people will hurt you, but that hurt doesn't define you. You can choose to stand up, to take back your life, and to move on. Because in the end, what matters most is your well-being, your dignity, and your ability to forgive yourself for what you can't change. I've learned that forgiveness isn't about her. It's about freeing myself from the anger and pain. I won't forget what she did, but I refuse to let it consume me. I'll carry the scars, sure, but I'll also carry the lessons. Lessons about trust, about the importance of self-respect, and about resilience. I'll keep working on my recovery, not just from my physical injuries, but from this emotional wreckage as well. Most importantly, I realize that I am enough. I don't need someone who manipulates, lies, and cheats to feel validated. I deserve honesty, loyalty, and respect. I've started to see my worth again, and that's the biggest victory of all. So to anyone reading this, if you find yourself in a similar situation, know that you're not alone. Justice, healing, and happiness are still possible. It might not happen overnight, and the pain might linger longer than you want. But trust me when I say that with time, effort, and a willingness to walk away from toxicity, you can reclaim your life. You can find peace again. Just don't let betrayal define you. Let it teach you, shape you, and ultimately make you stronger.